Visionary Minds Public Relations and Media is a proud sponsor of CAMedia Podcast. Be sure to get all your publicity, digital marketing, writing, media consulting services by emailing visionarymindsny@gmail.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CAMedia Podcast, the show that allows you to come in your own unique way. This podcast will be about my journey throughout my adult life. I will bring my friends, and there will be some episode in which I will be alone to speak about what's on my mind. Topics will range from society, culture, sports, relationships, and so much more. There's nothing off limits on the CAMedia Podcast. So, as you come into my world to listen to my podcast, feel free to know that this is a safe space and a personal space to bring your family and friends to listen to the CAMedia Podcast. So come and join this ride with me, and as always, this is the show that allows you to come in your most unique, authentic way. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CAMedia Podcast, the show that allows you to come in your own unique way. I'm your host, Clyde Anderson, and today we have Mitayah Donerlson here. She is the founder and CEO of her studio coaching, Tier 1 Solution, P.O.W.E.R Incorporated. She will be coming her own unique way. The show is brought to you by Visionary Minds Public Relations and Media. If you have any media consultations or inquiries, you can feel free to contact Tammy Reese at visionarymindsny@gmail.com, and she would gladly be in contact with you. Today, we have Mitayah Donerlson, and we welcome her. Welcome, Mitayah Donerlson, to the CAMedia Podcast. How are you doing?
I am doing well, and thank you for having me, Clyde. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Would you like to tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So there's a lot that comes with me. I am the CEO of Her Studio, which is a sister agency for One Tier Solution, where we focus on preventing trauma, right? So our goal is to reduce the impact of trauma. So some of the things that I do for the Her Studio and One Tier Solution is more professional development. I work with organizations. I also deal with families and children in the community that deals with prolonged trauma, domestic violence, as well as sibling violence. That is huge. That's something that we don't talk about, but that is some of the focus areas that I kind of focus on, as well as the founder of P.O.W.E.R. So P.O.W.E.R is definitely a huge passion of mine. P.O.W.E.R is in place because of my son. So Kasen was born with a rare disease called biliary atresia. But just so that I can be clear, P.O.W.E.R stands for providing others with empowered resources. And the goal ultimately is to prevent isolation during times of adversity, right? So we support moms and caregivers who have experienced prolonged hospitalization stays or loss of pediatric or newborns. So what does that look like? Moms who have spent time in the NICU, moms are caregivers. So I don't want to leave the caregivers out because you guys are important as well. But also not just the NICU, but also hospitalizations that's dealing with asthma. It can be dealing with surgical procedures, right? You can be really just trying to figure out what is going on with your child. The other part of P.O.W.E.R is supporting moms and caregivers who have experienced the loss of child. So that can be terminations, miscarriage, stillbirth, any newborn complications, SIDS, anything pertaining to maternal health. We are there to support the aftercare service.
So, that's a lot.
It was a lot. I'm
Yes.
sorry. I told you I
No,
come with a
no,
lot.
no,
Sorry.
no, you did. Yes, you did. You did say that. Um, I'm gonna try to go forward then backwards. In reference to P.O.W.E.R, in Kasen, uh, what was the disease again? I don't want to like botch the name of it.
You're fine. It's called biliary atresia.
biliary atresia. So when did you find out that he had biliary atresia, and what was like the creative process of handling Kasen's disease in order for you to create power, I would say.
Okay.
How did his health challenges help you empower yourself to create Power Incorporated?
So one, his health challenges was diagnosed at 2 months. But let me just rewind a little bit. At birth, he was jaundiced and he also had respiratory issues. So he did spend time in the NICU. So upon giving birth, my mom and my dad was in the room and they were able to see that he was breathing abnormally, right? We called the nurse in. The nurse was able to examine him, and then they immediately rushed him out of the room. So that is without communicating with the parent, or which would be me, without even saying a word. They immediately took him to the NICU. After buzzing and saying, "Hey, what's going on?" They're like, "Well, your son is in observation in the NICU. They just want to look him over." To then later find out that he had jaundice and that he had some respiratory issues. So we spent some time in the NICU, and then they later discharged us. Upon discharge, I was notified that he would urinate um the jaundice out. So what happens is your direct your direct biliary rubens in your body is either high or low. His were more elevated. So there's like a process for it to get out of your system, and it's a flushing system. In Kasen's case, his bile ducts to his liver did not work, but we were not aware of that at that time. So he was not further tested, and it wasn't until um, I call her the angel of Kasen's life. Her name is Tamika Mosier. She was an RN. She's a long term friend of mine, and we haven't spoken a very long time. And she called me up and she's like, "Hey, I want to come over, see you guys, visit the baby, so forth." So she comes over. I'm telling her the traumatic story that I experienced, never had it before. And she texted me at like 5 o'clock in the morning and she said, "Hey, I don't want to overstep my boundaries, but I really think that you should take him to the emergency room." I woke up, I read the message, and I was like, "Okay, cool." I called my mom. I said, "Hey, this is what Mika said we should do. She seems a little concerned. We're going to take him to the emergency room." So let's fast forward a little bit. I take him to the emergency room. They then said his liver was enlarged. So at this point, they are speaking a language that I don't understand, right? I have no idea what you're saying when you say liver enlarged. So I'm there, second time mother, but a first time mother experienced something very tragic, right? So I go, they admit us immediately, and then he had to have his first procedure called the Kasai procedure. This is typically what happens before a transplant, right? This is kind of like a safety measure that they have in place. Well, let's see if we can save the child with this procedure before putting them on a transplant list. So this is how Power got kind of like in motion, because after I experienced so many hospitalizations, after I experienced advocating for my child in a way I have never thought I needed to do so, I realized that the need of aftercare beyond the crisis is necessary. So that is how Power actually came about.
So, like in that process, what was like that main pivotal moment in the medical journey that inspired you to become an advocate for families, for other families?
It was when we were getting ready to be discharged from the Pittsburgh hospital, and they said, "You were one of the best moms we ever had. And I really wish that you can stay and coach the other moms." And at that moment, a light bulb went off and said, "Well, if this is a need here in Pittsburgh, it has to be a need in Syracuse, right?" So I'm going to be completely honest. As I was going through the journey, I did not factor in anyone else, right? Because I was very driven and focused on
Jason.
Kasen at that moment, right? So when I had time to really go home, sit back, and process everything, I began to think about the words that the doctor said to me and the nurses and, the psychiatrist. And I'm like, wow, like here I am I would say pretty fair in my career and pretty fair with my level of education. And I still struggle, right? I still struggle with my mental health. I still struggle with my self care. I still struggle with advocating for me and my child. Like there was still some struggles that I had. I had a support system. So at that point, I can only think about the women or the caregivers who don't have that, right? And what does that look like for them and
Right.
how their mental health looks. And so I began to really started to think about all the different things that can go left with a mom who or a caregiver who did not have the same support system that I had in place. So that is when I took action and realized that power was a needed source, and to kind of start doing my research at that point to see what other maternal health issues are presented in the community and
Mhm.
who's willing to talk about them.
In the creation of power, right? Did you have like any other names that you thought of before you come up with Power Incorporated for
I
the
did.
name?
I did. So I came up with like Hope Connections. I had brought all this stuff for Hope Connections, and then I later found out that there was a local organization that was using that name. It was not a legal name, but they were still using it. So then I was like, okay, back to the drawing board, back to the drawing board. So then I thought about providing others with empowered resources, not knowing that it's spelled out power, right? And ultimately, our goal is to give a substance. So when I seen the word power within our acronym, I'm like, wow, like our goal is to give a substance, right? And that substance is a little bit of power. So everything is really like full circle with us.
Beautiful, beautiful. So like in the establishment and mission of Power Incorporated, what specific gaps in support system did you identify that Power Incorporated aims to address?
Oh, so many. So the aftercare is huge, right? And that is where my focus point is at. Once you're discharged from the hospital,
That's
that's
it. Correct. Yeah.
that is it, right? So if a mom experienced a miscarriage, if a mom experienced a loss of child from SIDS or stillbirth, once you discharge, there is no support system, right? So
Right.
let me add, Power is the first organization in CNY that offers aftercare beyond the crisis, specific to maternal health, right? So once that discharge is in place, there is no support. Once you begin to grieve your loss, there is no support, right? Like they say, call us if you want to schedule an appointment, but there is no direct organization to support you throughout that journey. Even when we think about terminations, automatically we think about like, oh, the person didn't want the child, so then they got rid of the baby. And that is not the case. Sometimes the fetus can cause an infection in the body that makes it mandatory for the mother to get a termination, right?
Right.
So when I speak on that, it's kind of like, wow, I didn't think about that. And that's because we only know what we know.
Right.
My job is to raise a little bit more awareness
Awareness.
on the different categories and how we can better support these mothers and caregivers that's going through this process. And when I say caregivers, I'm thinking about the dads as well, right? There's a lot of fathers
Because there's
go
none for
through
yep.
right that go through this process. So when I say caregivers, I'm talking about fathers, I'm talking about foster mothers who may take on the responsibilities of someone else's kids, or we talking about grandparents, right? We're talking about guardians on any shapes. We got aunts, uncles, nephews, cousins, baby sisters. Like I am speaking for all those generations when I'm speaking on caregivers.
I know aftercare is like your main um program and services that you support. How do you tailor your other services to meet the unique needs for each family or individual
So what do you mean?
in reference to like your program and services that you provide?
So we do an intake, right? But one thing about our intake is you can you can request the services on behalf of the person or organization, right? So it can be a referral, it can be an organization referral, or it can be a friend referral, right? Our goal is to make sure that we keep the integrity of the person and to make sure that they feel like their independence are not taken away from them. So that is really, really key to us. Also, making sure that we're not breaking any HIPAA laws and making sure that there is comfort and trust within our support system. So, what does that look like? Say if you were aware of someone who experienced a loss of child and that could benefit from Power services, but the likelihood of them reaching out to us is very low, right? You can go on our website at powercny.org. You can do a request form. You'll fill out the request information. So we have wellness baskets for mothers who have had a loss of child. So we'll take that as an example. You fill out the request form, they get a wellness basket. We can drop the basket off to you, and then you can take the basket to that person versus a stranger that they don't know, right? Walking up to them saying, "Hey, we're sorry for your loss," and we're giving them a basket. So our information will be in there. We can add additional support systems with one-on-one, right? Coaching and those kind of things. But ultimately, we want that person to feel safe and comfortable with the products that they're getting.
Okay, that's I like that. Um,
Thanks.
so let's talk about a success story. Can you share a success story where Power Incorporated interventions made a significant impact on the family's journey?
Yes. So I have this young lady who was referred from another organization within a county. Young mom. I believe this was her second child, and her second child had some health issues and some health concerns. So she reached out. She was a little afraid. She reached out and she had a long-term stay at Rochester Hospital. So that is another thing that we support, right? So if you're traveling to another hospital or you're traveling to Syracuse, we can definitely support you as well. So in this case, she was traveling to Rochester, and we provided her with a couple of things. We provided her with the self-care kit. We provided her with some toys for her and her child to play with and have some interaction at the hospital. We also provided her with a food card to buy some food because the child is the patient and not you.
Right.
So, and that's what I mean, those small little hiccups that they forget about the mom, right? Like, because they're supporting that child. So, we want to make sure that mom has all the tools that she needs to be successful during this transaction. So, once she went to Rochester, there is an intake worker or a specialist that keep in contact with her to make sure that she has all her basic needs met. Again, once you receive services, you can always come back and receive another service, right? So it's not like a one-stop shop and that's all you can get. So at this particular time, the young lady took her child to Rochester. She had to do an EKG, she had to do some studies. She actually uploaded some videos. She sent us some videos, and she's actually going to be in our recent newsletter. So that'll be coming out in April. So I'm excited because Power is slowly, right? Like coming into the community, and
Right.
people are recognizing what Power is doing. When I first started, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want everybody to know who we are, like immediately, right? Like, because
Yeah.
the need is so high.
Right.
But, with God on my side, I am a true believer that, everything works out for the good, right? And it's not my time,
Man.
this time. And so, yeah, so I'm really, really happy of the partnerships that we are currently building. I'm happy with like even like the developmental trainings that's being offered from the local funders that's out here
Mhm.
keeping us on track, making sure that we're in compliance. Like I'm so helpful. Help not excuse me. I'm so grateful for the opportunities at the table at hand.
I'm glad that you brought that up because it kind of leads into the next question, um, and like in the advocacy and awareness. So, in what ways does Power Incorporated engage in advocacy and improving healthcare policies and or support systems for affected families?
So our topics are very sensitive, right? Like
Right.
nobody wants to openly say, "Hey, I had a termination. Hey, I had a miscarriage. Hey," right? Like my son is sick, right? So we do a lot of tabling events that allows people to come through, learn about us. We can drop some information in their bag,
Like
right?
a pop up event, right?
Yeah, so like
Yep.
pop-ups or table and events hosted by other organizations similar to the mission or similar to the age groups that we're trying to target, right? So what we're trying to target right now, we actually realized that we had to reduce the number from 18 to 16 because there is a lot of youth within that 16 to 18, 21 range that
Mhm.
needs a little bit more support, right? And even though those are children that's within school, they still need that support. So um tabling events, dropping off flyers to shelters that's within the community just so that they can know what's out there, right? So we're calling, we're trying to do in services. We have one coming up for the WIC. So I like to go
Mhm.
in and train their staff on what's going on. And then at that
Beautiful.
point, we can get authorization to leave our flyers and information inside.
Okay. Um, yeah, a couple more questions,
Yeah,
and
sure.
then I could do like a rapid fire of questions, which will loosen up more, I guess.
You're fine.
All right. So some personal reflections and future goals. Uh, Reflecting on your journey as a mother facing that or have faced a personal challenge and to lead into a non-for-profit organization, what is the most satisfying or significant learning that you've learned in that process?
What have I learned in this process? Oh my gosh, I have learned a lot. I have learned that my voice is way bigger than I thought. That the skill set that I have developed will last, right? And no matter where I'm at, no matter what I'm doing, no matter what job I'm at. And when I say skill set, the ability to advocate not just for yourself but for someone else is huge. And that skill set was beyond a 10, right? It came out of nowhere. I realized the need. I realized that the doctors had counted him out, right? Like, and don't get me wrong, shout out to the doctors. I know that you have to tell me what you see, right? There's grabs, there's labs that they have to read off, and they have to tell me what they see. And I have to tell them what I believe, right?
Amen.
So for me, the biggest thing was continue to advocate for my child despite the odds being against him. Yeah, so for me, avocation is big, right?
Okay.
And it's so big that I didn't even realize that I even had the space for it. Right? Like I didn't even realize that it was needed on that level. I didn't realize that I needed to be in that space in order to realize how important my voice was. So for me, um, advocating is huge. That is one of the things that I will say I took from this journey. I'm continuing to learn better techniques, better tools to better be efficient with advocating and reaching the people that I need to reach.
Beautiful. What are some of your future aspirations for Power Incorporated? How do you envision your impact in the upcoming years?
I want to be nationwide. Okay. That is my goal. That is the ultimate goal in the I want to be nationwide. And I don't care. We are small in one city, big in another, medium in another, but we are all over, right? And even if we on each coastline, I'm cool with that. But I need to be in spaces more than Syracuse. Don't get me wrong, I love Syracuse. I love y'all dearly. But the need
Man,
that I'm fighting is bigger than
bigger
Syracuse.
than Syracuse.
Yeah, it's bigger. It's bigger.
So, in reference to community engagement, what roles would you want your community to play in the healing and in the empowerment of families that you work with for Power?
Telling their story. I need your story. I need to understand that my story is not the only story that matters, right? Like I need other stories. I need to know the impact. I need to know the trauma. I can go off of, like my story and how I was impacted by this or that, right? Like the trauma. I can tell you everything about my story, but there's so many stories that's out here. I had spoken to a seasoned woman. She's in her 80s. And I was telling her my passion and I was telling her about power. And she said, I lost a child. I knew when he was only 14 days. And she was still impacted by that loss. And we're talking 60, 70 years later, right? And that is when another light bulb went off and said, it let me know the severity of this matter. It let me know that I needed to keep going. It let me know that I can't stop because there is women that was before me who wish that this aftercare support was in place for them. So I'm listen, I am so committed to this mission. I have doubted it at first because it was very hard in the beginning. Doing anything new, fresh off the ground, new initiative that caused a lot of resentment or a lot of resistance to the change of talking about something that we don't really talk about is really, really hard, right? It's really, really hard. But with the grace of God, I'm breaking down barriers day by day. So I'm really, really grateful for that to have um data, right? Like, so data is very, very important. Data is what drives everything. And I don't want to be data driven, but I have to be, right? Like, I
Right.
want to be service driven, but right now I have to be data driven to show that I am able, or my services are needed within the community.
Beautiful. Um, in what ways can people get in contact with Power Incorporated? And then we could talk a little bit, or you give a synopsis of Tier One Solutions and her studio coaching. In what ways can people get in contact with Power Incorporated?
Yeah, so one way you can visit our website. I urge you to visit our website so that you can see all of the services that we offer, ways that you can donate. So that is at powercny.org. Another way that you can do is you can reach out to us through email. That is at support@powercny.org. Another way is that you can contact us at 315-706-8178 if you need more direct services or ways to give or clarification on services, resources, or those kind of things. Feel free to reach out to us. We are always looking for sponsors. We are always looking for donations to help move this purpose along.
Beautiful. Would you want to give us a little bit in detail of Tier One Solutions and what it's
Sure.
offering?
Sure. So One Tier Solution is the sister company of her studio of coaching, right? So I had to get to a place where I had to kind of separate them. So One Tier Solution focus more on developmental strategies, right? Allowing safe space for people to heal, bring self awareness, and create more I wouldn't say self discipline, but more self regulation, right? Like having them more aware of their body and how their body responds. So, One Tier Solution offers training development opportunities for organizations, staff that work with at risk youth, staff that work with families that's within the community that may be at risk or dealing with mental health, individuals that has high level of trauma. So that is a huge focus point for One Tier Solution. The other part is for family and children services. Excuse me. We offer supportive sessions or workshops for mothers and fathers who have experience in domestic violence and just trying to find a better way of healing, right? A better way of living. So that is more of our focus point. And then our youth. That's our future, right? Giving them more strategies and more helpful skill sets that they can use to kind of bridge this gap of feeling abused or feeling a heavy load of trauma. So If you was looking for more information on that, you can find that at one tier solutions with an s.com. Also, there is request forms where you can go on there and I can send you direct information, quite quotes, prices, and break down the program services as well.
So is one tier solution? Did I say that correctly?
Yes, one tier solutions.
Um, how was the process and splitting that away from her studio coaching?
Well, it was necessary, right? Because when you hear her studio, you think of just
Email.
a her, right? Like anyone who identified themselves as a her.
Correct.
So ultimately, I did not want to have that as my focus point because I was servicing other organizations. I was servicing other entities or other bodies that was not just female based, right? So I needed to kind of break that split, but everything under her studio is more geared towards female. We do more direct workshops. So Let's Rewrite Her Story is under the Her Studio of Coaching brand. So that is more of the brand of Let's Rewrite Her Story, more for a healing space for women who have encountered many different obstacles, right? So that is that's the separation of the two. One tier solution is more on a training developmental stage, and Her Studio of Coaching is more on a healing space, safe space for women.
Would you like to talk a little bit about her studio coaching before we do the rapid fire questions, or
No, that's about it. That's about it. Her studio is my baby. We started this 4 years ago, and God just have had me going, right? Like
correct?
he gave me the vision. He told me what to do. Again, scary because healing from past trauma is very scary, right?
Yes, it is.
When you have to walk into that field, you have to walk into those steps and you have to take accountability for who and what you are. So I just thank God for giving me the platform and the courage to kind of take on the task that he gave me.
Amen. Amen. I tell you, we thank you for joining the CAMedia podcast. You are ready for the rapid fire questions?
Sure, let's go.
Give it 2 minutes, and whatever questions pops in my brain, I'll just
Oh goodness.
give you whatever, however long comes up your first thing that comes in your brain, and you just give me that.
Okay,
Ready?
let's go. I'm ready.
All right. What's your favorite food to eat?
Pizza.
For real?
You said the first thing that come to my mind.
Yeah. What book are you currently reading?
Oh gosh. There's a few. I'm not consistent. We're gonna say the Bible.
Okay. Your favorite musical artist?
I don't really have a favorite, but I do like Leandria Johnson.
Gospel singer.
Yes.
Favorite gospel song?
Oh goodness. Songs or song? So I'm gonna stick with Leandria because that's my girl. Better Days, Deliver Me. Um, I'm gonna stick with those two. I like those songs.
Your favorite hairstyle that you rock over here? What style?
This one as of 2 years ago, but before that, it was definitely my short pixie cut. But this is it. This is it. I don't think I got any more changes in me left.
Okay. What is your goal for yourself for this year? One goal.
One goal is to stay on track.
Okay. Your favorite Bible verse?
Mhm. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever, oh gosh,
Whoever believeth in him shall
him
never
shall not
perish.
perish, but have everlasting life. Yes.
Uh, your favorite place you travel to?
The favorite place, Florida is always a fun place. Florida is always a fun place.
Your favorite vehicle you driven?
My Mazda is nice. My CX-90 is nice. I like that.
Okay, okay, okay. That's a quick rapid fire question with Mitayah Donerlson. Uh, would you like to leave your socials in which people can contact you with, like your social media, not social security?
Right, because I'm like, my social security now, that's a little personal. So you can always follow me at Mitayah Donerlson. That is Mitayah. Last name is Donerlson, Donerlson. I often will put morning notes on the board to inspire you throughout your day, just to encourage you throughout your journey. Her studio of coaching also have a platform, so that is her studio CNY. And Power also have one as well, and that is Power Inc. CNY.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mitayah Donerlson, thank you for joining the CAMedia Podcast. The show that allows you to come in your own unique way. I'm your host, Clyde Anderson. If you would like to be a guest or be a sponsor on the CAMedia Podcast, you can leave an email at camediapodcast@gmail.com. We thank again Tammy Reese for being the originating sponsor of the CAMedia Podcast. Mitayah, it's been my pleasure to have you on.
Same here. Same here. It was a pleasure.
Yes, thank
Likewise.
you. Take care.
You do the same, sir.
Bye bye.
See you later.
Thank you for listening to the CAMedia Podcast, the show that allows you to come in your own unique way. I'm your host, Clyde Anderson. To be a sponsor on the show or even to be a guest host, you can email me at clydeandersonmedia@gmail.com. To find more selections of this podcast, you can search us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Pandora. Furthermore, you give us 5 stars, rate us, review us, follow us. In reference to our social media,